parishuddhena chetasa. So anybody wants to try this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I try?
You can try the verse again and then the translation.
Hare Krishna to all devotees. Nivritti dharma nirata nirmama niraha ahankritaha swadharmaptena svasatvena parishuddhena chetasa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
By executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position by dint of complete purification of consciousness, and by thus executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So the
Thank you,
next
Prabhu.
verse.
Vasudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. सूर्यद्वारेण ते यान्ति पुरुषं विश्वतोमुखं परावरेशं प्रकृतिम् अस्योपत्यान्तभावनम्. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Shanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Through the path of illumination, such liberated persons approach the complete personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of the material and the spiritual worlds and is the supreme cause of their manifestation and dissolution.
Thank you, Mataji.
Shubhanu Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. द्विपरार्धा वसाने यः प्रलयो ब्रह्मणस्तु ते तावध्यासते लोकं परस्य परचिन्तका.
Mataji, you can read the translation also.
Worshippers of the Hiranyagarbha expressions of the personality of Godhead remain within this material world until the end of two parardhas, when Lord Brahma also dies. Hare Krishna.
Krishnamurti Prabhu, you can read the purport.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, sir. You can read the verse, Krishnamurti Prabhu.
Next verse, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Shambho nala nila vyanmana indriyartha bhutadibhi parivrutam pratisanjirhishuho avyakrutam vishati yarhi gunatrayatma kalam parakyam anubhuya parak swayambhuho.
Translation also, Prabhu.
Translation by A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada ki jai. After experiencing the inhabitable time of these three modes of material nature, known as two parardhas, Lord Brahma closes the material universe, which is covered by layers of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, ego, etc., and goes back to Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. एवं परीत्य भगवन्तम् अनुप्रविष्टा ये योगिनो जितमरुन् मनसो विरागाः तेनैव साकम् अमृतं पुरुषं पुराणं ब्रह्म प्रधानम् उपयान्ति अगताभिमानाः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma, and therefore when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much. So we can go back to the 6th verse.
Yeah, Suma Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So we completed all the verses.
Yeah, we have done. Okay.
Okay. So thank you, devotees, for reading those verses. Very nice to hear. And now these 5 verses we will try to discuss a little bit in detail on what it indicates, what Srila Prabhupada is trying to, what is the message that he's putting across, how this conversation is proceeding. In fact, the chapter is 32, like you all know. It is titled as Entanglement in Fruitive Actions. So that's the title. And this is a conversation between 2 great personalities, that is Lord Kapila, who's the incarnation of the Lord, and his mother, that is Devahuti. So this is the conversation that is happening under the instructions of Kardama Muni. So as you all can recall, Kardama Muni actually leaves the home, and then Lord Kapila is instructed by Kardama Muni to instruct his mother to clarify her doubts, and then take her along in the path of liberation. So that's the background of it. So before we get started, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'm seeking the blessings and the mercy of all the devotees who are here, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So kindly bless me so that I'll be able to do some justice to these wonderful verses. The right words come at the right time in the right spirit. And I'm doing this as a seva for the parampara, the Guru Parampara, for the pleasure of the Lordships, and for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So, like I was saying, this is a conversation between 2 souls, that is, a wonderful personality, that is Lord Kapila and then Mother Devahuti. So this particular chapter, just to give a background, it starts by Lord Kapila saying how the persons whose lives revolve around the household activities, the day-to-day activities, and who are actually going behind benefits like material benefits, which is better position, economic conditions, etc. So economic development and all of that stuff. So the people who are endeavoring for such betterment and who have this goal, or the prime motivation for such activities is sense gratification. So that becomes their main goal. So what happens is, for such persons, for such individuals, they are ever bereft of devotional service. That means devotional service will not come for them at all. So now what do we mean by devotional service? Devotional service at its purest state, which is ahaituki and apratihata, because they are so attached to sense gratification. So what happens? I can just request people to go on mute. That will be nice. Okay, Suma Mataji, you can take care of the host. Okay, thank you. All right, so what happens is they are so much attached to their sense gratification that devotional service does not happen for them at all. And when we are talking about attachment to sense gratification, we are talking about both the platforms, that is the subtle platform as well as the gross platform. gross enjoyment of senses, as well as subtly in the mind thinking of certain pleasures or certain kind of sense gratifications. So, although they might be doing certain pious activities, like they might be doing a lot of sacrifices, then they might be taking a lot of vows, so they might follow a lot of vows, but they will not be interested in Krishna. So they might advance very well in those things, the demons. They were very good at taking great vows, standing on one leg for like many many years, not moving at all. Hiranyakashipu, how he did. It was very intense. And then there's a lot of sacrifice that they do because they are not eating. There is no pleasures. They gave up all the sense pleasures and all of that. But then their primary goal was something else. So because of that, they will not be aligned to Krishna, or they will not be interested in Krishna. It doesn't interest them at all. So what happens is, such persons, so what happens to them? Lord Kapila is saying that they get elevated to higher planets, to better economic conditions, or because they are so devoted to the demigods or to the forefathers. So they are devoted to all these people, so personalities. So they don't get into Krishna consciousness at all. So it's a very dangerous situation. But then what happens? They get elevated to higher planets or better birth and all that. Now we know that even if we are getting elevated to higher planets, it's of no use, because the temporariness is still there. So this is what Lord Kapila is telling to Devahuti. He says that all these planets anyway get vanquished, or they get annihilated. So he says that intelligent persons who are completely satisfied in only Krishna consciousness, so yajantihi sumedasaha, you can recall that particular verse. So where he says that they are only satisfied about Krishna consciousness, they are freed of material nature, like all the three natures, the sattva-gun, rajogun, and then tamogun. So they are beyond that, and they don't act for sense gratification. So there are these personalities who are freed from material nature. That is, they are not in the sattva, rajo, or tamoguna, and then they don't act for sense gratification either at the gross or the subtle level. Then they are expected to act in a certain way. How they are expected to act in a certain way is what is given in verse number 6. So this is the continuity I was just trying to bring out. So what it says is, these personalities, by executing one's occupational duty, acting with detachment, that means they are not attached to the results of those activities, without a sense of proprietorship, knowing fully well that I don't own or possess anything in this material world, and without any false ego, they know very clearly who they are. Then what happens is, one is posted in one's constitutional position. So thank you, Mataji, for highlighting that. So they engage themselves in devotional service, and that is the aspect that is being brought out here. Now, what is being told here is that by dint of complete purification. So what is this purification? It is a purification of the consciousness, so that we know. Now, what do we mean by purification of consciousness? What do we understand by that? So for that, we should know what is our current consciousness, or our current contamination, or whatever we call it. So what is that? So in our current state, what is our general belief? That I am this body. So this bodily identification or bodily consciousness is the contamination that we are talking about. Prabhupada is bringing that aspect out. So here he says that purification is the fact that I am not this body. So that is purification. Okay. So then one realizes, then the question will come, okay, I am not this body, then who am I? And then we know Adhyatmika teaches us that we are the spirit soul. Now, if I am the spirit soul, then do I have a duty? Like as a body, as a owner of the body, I have some duties to material things. There are some duties that I have, which I have to perform because I have taken a certain body. But then, are there any duties for the soul? So this is another question. Now, if we are talking about the bodily level, then we know that there are deaths. Our Adhyatmika or our Shastras tell us that we have to know what is our rin or our debt or indebtedness is very important, because this indebtedness actually helps us to overcome the attachment of the body or thinking that I am this body. So indebtedness to everything or everyone is what gets highlighted at the bodily level. So this is by way of rin. So there are so many types of rin that we have. So what are those rins? Some of you might be aware. So there is Pitru rin, then maybe Matru rin, Mata Pita rin. So because they have given us this body, me as a soul, I've been allowed to enter into this sacred human body. Why it is sacred? Because it gives us an opportunity to get over, to move out of Janma, Mrityu, Jara and Vyadi. So then we naturally should be grateful for that particular thing. Then there is also this Dharti Ran, because we grew up. So when we were born, we were small, no intelligence, we were not able to speak, walk, we were completely dependent. Then slowly we gained energy. Where did we gain the energy and the strength from? That is all coming from Mother Earth. So Dharti Ran, and then Rishi Ran, because Rishi is, or the Guru is the one who's giving us knowledge. So then we are having some knowledge, and then we know what is right and wrong, and so on and so forth. So that is there. And then Devata Ran, of course, all these, every aspect, there is a controlling deity. So there are Devatas, so we are obligated to them, we are indebted to them. So this is some of the runs. There are many runs like that. Run to the society, to the family. So by way of karma, then all of this get enacted, and then we move on. So this is one aspect that we are completely aware of. Then now we'll have to go beyond this. And going beyond this is purification of this consciousness. This whole thing is revolving around the aspect that I am this body. But what is Adhyatmika trying to tell us? What is Shrimad Bhagavatam telling us? Or what is Bhagavad Gita trying to tell us? It is telling us that you are not this body. Then in one stroke, all these related information or related jnana kind of becomes obsolete, or it doesn't have any relevance anymore, right? So we start wondering, then if that's the case, then what is my duty? So then that means to say that, do I have to not worry about all of this? So there is clarity that is being provided by Lord Kapila. And Srila Prabhupada brings out many aspects that which we'll try to see in little bit of a detail here. So now we know that, I belong to the Lord from the Shastras. So there is a connection, and that connection to the Lord is unique. So we know that. So there is this Swarupa. Each one of us have a certain Swarupa. Now this awareness or consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So trying to be aware of myself at all times. Like if we are going to a school, we wear that uniform, and then we go to the school. Then our consciousness is what? It is such that I am a student of this particular school or of a certain class, which is part of the school. So the school is where I belong to. That's my identity. And that consciousness is there all through, like say from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. We are in that school. So we are present in gross in the school. Then our thoughts are always that I am part of this great school or this big school. This is my school. And then all our activities are revolving around this consciousness. So the way we behave, the way we talk, the way we greet the teachers, the way we do our homework, our whatever attention we pay to the school, to the classes, anything that you take is all around that. This is, we are not aware that I'm in this consciousness, but then we need to be aware of it so that then we will be able to understand what is Krishna consciousness. So because that involves our existence. So in our existence, if we are able to be aware or conscious of Krishna, of how he is the supreme and how I'm a small anu or a small portion of the Lord, whereas the Lord is big, the differences between me and the Lord, the similarities between me and the Lord, and the relationship that I have between him is important. And what is that relationship? The Acharyas have said that we are the servants and he is the master. So we need to serve. We need to serve without any expectations. So that's the theory part we were talking about. But now, how do we internalize this? Because all this already it is given. The Acharyas have given the verdict. They say that we are connected eternally as servant and master, and so we'll have to serve. So we know this theoretically. But when it comes to practical, then there is a lot of gap. Each one does a type of seva in a different way. The consciousness is what is responsible for this difference. The action might be very similar. Doing some devotional service, it could be chanting, it could be doing an arati or serving, preparing some bhoga for the Lordship, or any of these activities that we do. Externally, it might look the same, but then depending on the consciousness of that individual, there is a difference in the worship itself. So that difference is what we need to be aware of, or we need to analyze further. So that is why if you look at Shrimad Bhagavatam, there is one particular shloka. So there is a concession given. What it says akama sarva kama va. And then moksha kama udarati. Then tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. So what does this mean? It says that you might have some desires, or you might have no desires, or you might have desire to get liberated. In all the cases, do devotional service. So this is like a blanket approval that we've got, where we can go ahead and then do devotional service. Because the nature of devotional service is such that it is self-purificatory. So even if we have a lot of desires and then get into devotional service, the service itself is such that it purifies us, because devotional service is in our constitutional position, which is that I am the servant and the Lord Krishna is the master. And in that consciousness, when we do, even we have some desires, it gets purified. We have seen numerous examples in Shrimad Bhagavatam. The example of Dhruva Maharaj stands out very well in this case, where he went with some personal, he wanted some gain. He wanted a personal position, which is with respect to his body. But then he went for devotional service, or he did the tapasya and all of that. But then what happened? He got purified in the process. So we know that particular story. So the whole aspect is here what? It is not about the state we are in. It is not about the level of purification that I am in. It is about making that choice that let me do devotional service. Now, this choice, irrespective of our current position, that is the current degree of contamination, that is the decider. So the moment we decide, because see, Krishna is giving this free will to all of us, right? We can choose to serve him or not choose to serve him. Even if we choose to serve him, but with contaminations, in an improper way, still it is all right. But that doesn't mean that we will continue to do like that. No, that's not what we are trying to say here. We are only trying to say that we will have to take that first step. And that first step is the personal choice that Krishna has given to us. So we know that Krishna has given this choice to us to reach out to him. He will wait till that. So either way you reach out, and this is what Lord Kapila is telling. This is what all our acharyas are saying. This is what every Leela, every story in Shrimad Bhagavatam, in the Puranas, everything is indicating to this particular aspect, that we have a free will, but we will have to choose wisely. And if we make that choice of choosing Krishna, then he reciprocates and then he guides us. So there are two things that are happening. One is choosing or selecting Krishna. That means if we are selecting Krishna, then it means giving up other things, other material things, because these two don't go hand in hand. We are aware of that. So this is what in the purport it is being explained, which is the Nivritti Marga. So what is Nivritti? It is serving positively, linking positively with the Supreme Personality, and then But then we should also be aware of the opposite. What is that opposite of nivritti? That is pravritti. Now, pravritti means our propensity. That means like what is it that I am made up of, or like what is my propensity, which is self-elevation. It could be by religious activities also, like promotion to higher planets, carrying out all those religious things so that I get a better position, better economic status, a better social status, etc. But the final aim of such thing is the pravritti is to enjoy the senses. So pravritti is something which we will have to give up. We will have to not go behind sense gratification. But even though that is our natural instinct in the body, in the human body, that's, or in any body for that matter, that's the natural instinct. But then we have that particular tendency in the human body, but then trying to come out of that, work ourselves above that, and then come out of that. And that is why it is nivritti marg, which means that you give up these things, these attachments, and then attach to Krishna, attach to the Supreme Lord. So this process of detaching and then attaching to Krishna is what our life is all about. In fact, everybody is actually moving towards Krishna. The amount of purification that happens in a particular lifetime depends, that decides what body we get, and so on and so forth. So if you move on to the next shlokas, where it is talking about this path that we have to take, which is the nivritti path, and that path is described as the path of illumination. They are saying that it is Surya Dvarena. That's the key word that is being used here. So Surya Dvarena means Surya is sunlight. So path, illuminated path, it is. Prabhupada is translating it as illuminated path. The Vedas also say that you don't pass through darkness, but through light or through sun. So approach Krishna, and Krishna is described in a nice way here. He is described as Purusham Vishwato Mukam. So what is this word? Purusham Vishwato Mukam. Purusha, he is the supreme enjoyer, Purusha. Vishwato Mukam, that means he has his face everywhere. That means he is the all-knower. His face is everywhere means like it doesn't mean that he's got millions of faces everywhere. So it is somebody who is looking in all the directions. He is somebody who's aware of what is happening in all the directions. He is conscious of what is happening in all the directions. Whereas our consciousness is not like that. Our consciousness is limited to our body. Whereas the Lord's consciousness is Vishwato, the whole Vishwa, or the whole creation, everything that belongs to him. So Purusham Vishwato Mukam is whose head is turned everywhere. So see how nicely the Lord is described. So we don't describe the Lord, but we also describe one particular quality. So thereby the relationship becomes more strong, or we are able to perceive the Lord in a certain way by the particular quality that is there. And this quality here is Vishwato Mukam. So now Prabhupada is actually explaining this as proprietor of everything, owner of everything. And this resonates with this shloka from Isha Upanishad, some of you are aware, which says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat. So Ishavasyam idam sarvam, that means what? Everything belongs to the Lord, the Supreme Lord, that is Krishna. And then we are Anu, small, and then the Lord is big, Vibhu. Then his energies are spread everywhere. So these are aspects that we are aware of, and that is what is being highlighted here. So it is kind of aligning to what we hear in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Upanishads or any other authorized, the Shastras, if you say, so to speak. So if you take all of them, they all talk about only one thing and nothing else. And Lord Kapila is also telling Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, the same thing. And then he says that the people who are intelligent will take to this path of illumination, Surya Dvarena, and then they will move towards Krishna. How? By Nivritti Marg, by giving up certain things and then accepting Krishna, by making that choice. So this is how we can summarize the whole aspect. And then he says that people who are not taking to this path, but who are still confused, and then who's contamination is not so pure. I mean, it's like they're still contaminated to a greater degree. Then what happens is they will end up making choices which are temporary in nature. And to highlight the temporariness of all other things other than Purusha or other than Lord Krishna, we are talking about the life of Lord Brahma. That is in the next verse number 8, where the temporariness is brought about by comparing to the life of Brahma. And then it says that the people, that is parardas. So that means there are two parardas, is the duration of the life of Brahma. So if you look at in Bhagavad Gita in 8.19, again, there is this particular aspect that is coming out, which is again and again when Brahma's days arrive, what it says, Bhutha Ghama Sa Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Pradiyate Ratri Agame Vishya Partha Prabhavati Ahar Agame. So that means again and again when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So they keep moving around in this particular cycle, and that is why it's called as Bhutva Bhutva Pradiyate. So again and again, repeatedly, they take birth and then they get annihilated, and then this goes on. And that is what keeps on happening for everybody till the time Brahma's end comes. And then at the end of Brahma's life, then anyway, even Lord Brahma has to die. So there is no permanency in whatever you're looking for. It is so temporary that even during the duration of Brahma's life, so many times you are being born. And then Lord Brahma himself also. So whatever type of elevation that we try to do for ourselves, using on the strength of the scriptures, the maximum position that one can attain in the material world is Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma's position, and Lord Brahma also has an end. So the whole aspect is the temporariness is being highlighted here. And then it also talks about how if one worships Hiranyagarbha. So who is Hiranyagarbha? He is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they also remain here for a long time. And this is what happens to them, because Hiranyagarbha means Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. And if an individual is worshipping or rather accepting Hiranyagarbha as the supreme and nothing beyond, they stop up to that point. They are not seeing Hiranyagarbha as Vishnu Tattva or as an expansion of the Supreme Personality, but then they are saying, considering the Hiranyagarbha or the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu as the all in all, the end of, there is nothing beyond the Hiranyagarbha. So they are not able to relate Hiranyagarbha to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then what happens? They will continue to be here. So even though they are worshipping Vishnu Tattva, they will end up continuing to be here in this particular universe. And they will only get liberated when Lord Brahma goes back, when there is pralaya that happens. So there is a dependency in that particular type of worship, even though the worship or the aradhana is happening of Hiranyagarbha, or the acceptance of Hiranyagarbha. Only that, if it is done individually also, there is a pitfall, because it is not a direct liberation. Though liberation happens, but it is not direct. It takes a long time. So the only path is the direct path. It is like the devotional service path, and that is being highlighted here. By taking these examples, then Prabhupada is bringing out the aspect of how the direct connection to Krishna is the best thing, the direct connection to Goloka. There is no stopover. It is like you want to go from here to, say, London to US, but then if there are multiple stopovers, then naturally it's going to take a long time. And there is a lot of frustration. There is a lot of difficulties, because there is a layover, and then you have to stay for maybe a few hours or maybe for half a day, and then then the food, the sleep, everything is disturbed. So then just compare that to a direct flight where you just sit here and then you land in the destination where you have to go. That direct flight is devotional service, and that is why it says even in Bhagavad Gita it aligns. It says that, what's that shloka? Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. There it says, Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam susukam.
Pavitramidamuttamam.
Yes, pavitramidam uttamam.
Pratyaksha.
Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam susukam kartum avyayam. There it says the direct perception is there for us. We can actually directly perceive. So it's not indirect, it is direct. And then it takes us, it lands us there in where we have to go. So we as practicing Vaishnavas, when we say Krishna, then what do we mean, or what we should mean is all of, not just Krishna as a personality, but everything related to Krishna. That means his name, then his form, of course, and then his leelas, that means his activities, and then his energies. And when we talk about his energies, then we are talking about the abhinna energies. That means the Vishnu Tattvas. They are all connected. So in total, collectively, when we say Krishna, then we mean that in collective. So that is our understanding. So with that understanding, when we are attached, or when we are worshipping a Vishnu Tattva, then, or like say a Hiranyagarbha, but then we are aligning it with Krishna or with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we will not be in this material world, or we will not continue to revolve around. So we should be, as practicing Vaishnavas, we are aware of that. It is just that we will have to further our consciousness in this way, not limited to, say, Hiranyagarbha or Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and then say he is the end of everything. Or somebody will say the Brahman effulgence is the all in all. Everything is coming from Brahman. They stop there. So then what happens? Their progress also gets stopped to that particular level. So like Brahman, we know, impersonalist, they don't accept the personality of the Lord. So they will land up in Brahman, and then they will remain there for many, for a very long time. Now, the next aspect we are seeing, which is Hiranyagarbha worshippers. So they also end up remaining in this material world, and then they get bodies, and then they'll continue in that way. So this is aligning with this particular shloka of Bhagavad Gita, what it says, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejityante kalevaram tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. So whatever we think, we will attain that particular position, or whomever we think of, we will go to that particular personality. But then if we think of Krishna, and then we go to Krishna. If we think of demigods, then we go to demigods. So it is aligning here also. The same thing is being described by Kapila Muni, by Lord Kapila, where he is saying how people will end up in between stages. And these in between stages are actually like stopovers. So they'll remain there for a long time. Then again, they'll get the connection, and then they'll have to come. So it takes a long time, but it's not a direct process. So this is the aspect that is being brought out here. And then, of course, there is one more aspect that is being discussed, which is for that, then Prabhupada is talking about two types of pralayas that happen. We all are aware of it. So Brahma lives for 100 years, and each day of Brahma, that is a kalpa, we know what is the duration, which is 1000 Mahayugas. Mahayuga is the sum total of all the 4 yugas. So 4 yugas together, Mahayuga, 1000 times that is 1 day of Brahma, which is, and then similar is 1 night, and together it becomes 1 kalpa, which is 1 day of Brahma, and like that he lives for 100 years. So now there is a pralaya at the end of the day. So every day there is a pralaya. So after the day's work is done, then Lord Brahma winds it up, and then he takes rest. Then again he comes the next day, and then he continues from where it's left. It's like our day-to-day work also. So we are working for on a project or something. We work for the whole day, and then when the time is up, we just put the computer to sleep mode, or we close it, we clear the desk, and then we go on. So it's like a kind of a mini pralaya. So we end everything. The next day we come, and then we start from there again. So that is what Lord Brahma does. So his world, or the upper planetary systems, are not affected, but the lower planetary systems, or the earth is affected there in that pralaya. So that is a mini pralaya. Then Mahapralaya is when the whole when life of Lord Brahma itself is coming to an end. And that is what is discussed here, which is 2 parardhas, right? Parardhas. So when there are 2 parardhas, that means then the life of Lord Brahma comes to an end. Then what happens is Meanwhile, this is a long duration of life, right? Some 300 and something trillion, 3 trillion 40, no, 311 trillion 40 billion years or something like that. Huge number it is. So in this huge duration, we would have done various sadhanas. So there are these yogis who would have done certain sadhanas where they will end up meditating on nothing, but then they would have given up all material things. So they don't want anything. They don't want anything material, but they are not attached to the Brahman. But then they are just meditating on the void. What will happen to them? Since they have given up all the material desires and everything, so they will not be born in the material world. But then they have not thought of anything which will take them to the spiritual world. Yam yam vapi smaran mukta. So they end up inside the body of Lord Brahma. So that's even more difficult. Into nothingness, you can say. So into being blank. So and then they continue to remain there till the lifetime of Lord Brahma. And then after that, then when Brahma gets liberated, then they also get liberated. So that's a very, very long process. Imagine you have to wait for, say, 100 trillion years or whatever is the life of Brahma that is left, and then get in there and then wait there, sit out there for that duration, and then go back home to Godhead. So that's not a very intelligent thing. Nobody would want to do that. So, but then unknowingly, yogis are doing that. And that's what is said in the last shloka, where it talks about how the yogis, they meditate. Verse number 10, I think that is. We can come back to that. Yeah, the yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercise and control of mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. And therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter the kingdom of God. So very confusing, very long time, and we don't know what's going to happen, and then you end up remaining there. So this is not a very good kind of route to take for liberation. Everybody is in the path of liberation, but what is the path that we choose decides on our intelligence. And that intelligence, of course, that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yajantihi Sumedasaha. So that is people who take to Krishna consciousness or who take the names of Lord Krishna are the most intelligent, especially in Kali Yuga. So the time is defined. We are in Kali Yuga. The process is given, which is Nama Sankirtan, and it's only the intelligent who take that. So because we have seen the other processes now, and then how long it takes, and how much of confusion is there now. So we just have a brief view of all of that. So what are those things that we saw? We know Brahman, impersonalist, they end up in Brahman. Now today we saw Hiranyagarbha, worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, who limit their understanding to Hiranyagarbha as an individual entity and not as an expansion of the Supreme Lord. So that connection is not there. So then they end up remaining here in the material world. And then the yogis who don't have any destination in their mind, but they are just meditating and they have given up. So this is like they have given up, but they have not attached to the positive thing. So then they end up in the body of Brahma. So we saw that here in this particular verse. So like this, there are many ways where we can go off track, or we might get stuck, or we might get stranded, and then it might check our movement or our progress towards Krishna, our Swarupa Siddhi, or our our Paramagati, the Gati, that is the movement that is happening for all of us as souls. It is Paramagati. Parama means like Paramatma. So moving towards Paramatma, it gets checked, it gets delayed, and then you take a roundabout route instead of going straight. So it's like Prabhupada, that's why it takes this thing now. Like, I've given you the lift, just come to Krishna, Goloka floor, just press, and then you just, exit there, and then you're in Goloka. You don't have to take the steps, you don't have to be confused, you don't have to be bewildered, and then you don't have to waste time or lose time. So just go directly there. So in this way, this direct process is being explained or highlighted by Lord Kapila also to his mother. So we can see how everything is aligning. It is all coming back to the same thing. So our journey in Adhyatmika is not about no janma, no mrityu, no jara, no vyadi. Of course, it is about that, but it is not just only about that. It is not about no birth, no death, no old age, or no disease. It is about where we want to go, the destination. That becomes very important. It's not about getting out of the material world. Of course, we have to get out because we understand this is dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. But if I'm getting out, then where should I go? That is intelligence. You ask any student of 12th, or we all have been students in 12th standard. So what was the main aim? The main aim was not getting out of 12th or leaving the school. The main aim was, where do I end up finally? That's sign of intelligence for a student, right? Somebody has a goal, they want to go into IIT, somebody wants something else, somebody, whatever is their goals. So where they want to go is what is a sign of intelligence. It is not about getting out of that particular place, because by deciding where they want to go and then working on it, like say somebody wants to go to IIT or somebody wants to go to doctor or whatever it is, they begin work on that. So when they begin work on that, passing or moving out of 12th will happen automatically. That is how mukti is compared here. In our Vaishnav, this thing, mukti is not the end goal, but it is a side benefit that happens. By concentrating or serving Krishna, anyway mukti will happen. But then serve Krishna in what consciousness, in what this thing, it will depend on where we want to go, what type of mukti we will get. But our main aim is serving Krishna. That's all. So in this way, like how for a student of 12th standard, he or she is not studying because they want to pass, but they are studying because they have made up in their mind where they want to go. So even in our Adhyatmika journey, it should not be just about no janma, no mrityu, no jara, no vyadi, but it should be about where we want to reach. And where we want to reach, of course, we have all the knowledge and information that is given in our scriptures, and then we make the right choices and then continue to do devotional service, then automatically mukti will happen. So mukti, Prabhupada says, bhakti which is beyond mukti. That is why this becomes beyond mukti, because we are not worried about mukti. We are more worried about how I can serve the Lord, how I can please Him. So it is no longer about me, it is about the Lord, about completely surrendering to the Lord, completely playing the role of a servant and a master. Come what may, whatever happens to me, my duty is to just serve the Lord and then please the Lord in that way. If the Lord is pleased, then I'm pleased. So it's not about me, it is about the Lord. So this is the paradigm shift that happens in when we take to devotional service. And this devotional service, even we take to it with a lot of contamination, still it is self-purificatory. And for that, the example is Dhruva Maharaj, how the Lord purified him and still gave him what he wanted. So he finally, when he sees the Lord and he realizes what he came to ask, it was like, what is that analogy they gave? You meet a billionaire and he wants to help you, and then you ask for 100 rupee note. I mean, so that's like funny. So like that. In fact, Dhruva Maharaj makes that reference. He says, I came for diamonds, but what I thought were diamonds were actually pieces of glass, because they also reflect. Like, so he thought, then he realizes now these are all pieces of glass, because the real diamond is here, because he sees the real diamond. Then he realizes what is the real diamond. Then he realizes what I wanted was actually pieces of glass. So like that, the purification happens for everybody. So we will have to just endeavor with the right understanding. And that right understanding comes with Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, with all these great conversations, like the conversation that we saw, the part of the conversation that we saw today, where Lord Kapila is talking about the pitfalls that are there, and then how then later on he brings out the aspect of devotional service. So the keywords that we learned today, if we just go through, remember these keywords, then it gives us that flow. So one is nivritti, that's in that first thing. And then we saw nivritti marg, which is about devotional service, about getting out of the material sense gratificatory pravritti or the propensity, getting above that. And then Surya Dharena, how do we do that? Through the path of illumination, which is what we also say, right? What is that? Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So I'm in Tamas, take me to Jyoti. That means Surya Dvarena, so light, which is about knowledge, which is about enlightenment, which is about Krishna. Krishna Surya Saman and Maya is Andhakar. So whichever way you look at it, it all aligns there. So Surya Dvarena, and then Prardas, that is, everything about the world is temporary, including the life of Lord Brahma himself. And then the next keyword is Avyakritam. Avyakritam is a place of permanence, which is Sanatana. So that's the thing that we didn't touch upon. Which is opposite of the material world, which is the Sanatan or the spiritual sky or the spiritual world. So Avyakritam is what we should aspire for. And if we aspire in a wrong way, like the yogis, then we end up in the body of Lord Brahma for a long period and then finally reach the destination. That's not a sign of intelligence. So these are some of the aspects that we discussed today. I think we can stop here. So we have 5 minutes. If there are any questions or comments, then please go ahead. This is a conversation that is continuing. So we just covered those 5 verses and the conclusions that Prabhupada made. And then so that then from tomorrow, then the rest of the things can happen. So Hare Krishna, thank you so much for this
Hare
opportunity.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Mataji's, Shilpa Mataji is having a doubt, Prabhuji. Yes, Mataji, can go.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I wanted to know about two prarardhas. One prarardha, I mean, how are they two? Because one dissolution is at the end of Brahma's day, second dissolution is after Brahma's night. So they are not the prarardhas, right?
No.
One prarardha I understood as when Brahma dies, when his life ends. What
It is like the
prarardha?
50 years of Brahma is one. So Dvip Prarardhas is like 2, which means 100. So it has got nothing to do with the mini pralaya or the kalpas. So if you want to know the duration of prarardhas, it is 50 years or half life cycle.
So Brahma dies after 50 years?
No, after 100 years. Dvip Prarardhas. That means like after 2 such things. That means into 2.
Okay, after 2 prarardhas, he dies.
He leaves the body.
Okay, understood. Yes, Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you.
And that is equivalent to 100 Brahma's years, and which is equal to 311 trillion 40 billion years. That's a calculation that we can always work it out. With Mahayuga, 1000 Mahayugas, 1 Kalpa, into 31 days, into 365 into 100. So it comes to that figure. This is all there in purports of Srila Prabhupada. If you read in earlier cases, I mean, I'm sure you would have come across this.
Hare Krishna. Padmashri Mataji, you can ask the question, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very nice class. I want to know about who is Hiranyagarbha. Are Hiranyagarbha and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu the same? I just wanted to know.
Yes, they are the same. It is an indication of, I mean, it represents the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Hiranyagarbha. It is a supreme Lord or the expansion of the Lord, but expanded in the material world. But then when we think of Hiranyagarbha as an independent entity and not connecting to Krishna, then it is given here. Lord Kapila is saying what happens to them. So they will continue to be in the material world only, because Hiranyagarbha means it is, again, for the formation of the material world, he expands himself and comes into the Brahmanda. So he'll be in the Brahmanda. You think of somebody in the Brahmanda, then you'll be within the Brahmanda only, no? That's the logic.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a doubt, Prabhuji. Like in the Hiranyagarbha, they are meditating for so many days, so many years. Is it only that they are lacking, Prabhuji? Is it the bhakti that they are lacking? They are not in union with the Lord. That yoga is not there.
No,
just because
they
of that,
have
they are
bhakti. Sorry, Mataji, complete it. You said something else. Last.
Yes, Prabhuji. That is what, Prabhuji, I have this doubt. Whenever I think of like Prabhupada says, this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, and there are other books which are contaminated. It is like the milk touched by a serpent. So, why is it that? Because I always think anything comes in connection with the Supreme should get purified. So, why are they not getting liberated? Or doing the
Oh,
bhakti
they
like
also
all
get
of us?
liberated, but the process is very, very long. So we are saying they're not getting liberated. A person, like say, if you look at that 12th chapter, that second verse, it say, I mean, in that third or fourth verse, Arjuna is asking, what about the people who don't accept your form? He says, they also come to me finally, but they go through a lot of trouble, lot of like they are also going to the US, but so many hops, so many layovers. They will reach after 1 week. I mean, so it is as good as like they are. I mean, we say okay, they are not getting liberated. That means we are saying that in that particular period, like if you say somebody failed, they failed that test, but then they can still progress and then they can move, they can come out, right? Maybe they'll take 1 or 2 years more to finish their 12th, but then eventually they'll finish and then they'll come out. So like that. It's not like nobody. That is why I said no, that what is that Paramagati, or everybody is actually moving towards Vishnu only. Towards Krishna. I mean, when I say Vishnu, I mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're all moving towards that because that's our this thing. What do you say? Our end goal. But then some of them, the contamination is so much that it appears that they are going in the opposite direction. They are going, then they realize, then they take a detour. Like sometimes, you miss a turn and then you're actually going in the opposite direction. If you have to go to, say, Bombay, but you might be going towards Kanyakumari because you missed the turn. But then you realize it on en route and then you take a U-turn, then again you come back. But then the duration is long. So that also happens in the journey of all the souls. So many detours, so many wrong entries, so many, and then so many stopovers. We stop for some time. All of that keeps happening. So it looks like we are not progressing. But then eventually we will reach there. But that is no consolation. Generally, this is not highlighted much because then somebody might come to the wrong understanding. Anyway, I'll go there now, so it is okay. No, that is not sign of intelligence. Intelligence is to go now. Once you're aware that you're in the wrong place, then get out of it. That is intelligence. That's why this doesn't get highlighted. But then, yeah, that is there. So everybody is actually progressing. So everybody is moving towards liberation. So there is nothing like this thing. But then that path looks like they are deviated, or I mean, of course they have deviated, but then eventually they'll come back. But we are not so patient, or we are not like, we won't take that view that, oh, it's all right, then we'll tolerate them. Oh, of course we have to tolerate them. That is how when we develop that view, and then you realize that everybody is going towards that, by fulfilling our senses or sense gratification, we are actually, the Lord is helping us to become satiated, or to become satisfied quickly, and then you give up. See, some things, even as individuals, as if you take our own lives, there are certain things we don't feel very strongly about, because then what is the understanding? Those are things that we have already finished it off in our previous births. So we don't have so much of attachment to certain things. But there are certain things which were not done earlier, so we have some attachment. That's why we feel some people are so attached to something, you'll wonder, why are they so attached? But then that is, for them, it is very important, whereas for us, something else is. So each one of us is in a certain progressive path towards the Lord, but we are doing it in our own ways because of the situation that we are in. So I hope you're able to connect these things in the way I want to put it across.
Yes, Prabhuji. That is why we practice the Yukta Vairagi. Is that correct, Prabhuji? Like only everything when we see in connection with the Lord, it gets purified
Yeah, it
ultimately.
gets
Is it,
purified.
Prabhuji?
Once we begin to see it in connection with the Lord, then the process accelerates. This is like whatever I said is in its own course of time. Whereas when we make, that's why I said in the start, make the choice that I want to connect, and then he takes care. Now that is the choice that we make. Then what happens is it's a catalyst. It speedens that process. Like sadhu sangha, it speedens that process, they say. Like that example, Narada Muni talking to a small insect, then a cat, and then a cow, and then a human body. So for there, what is the conclusion? That process is the same, but it got accelerated for that person. It got like double promotion, or multiple promotions, like suddenly. But you went through that process, so like that, So the Lord hastens that process, or a devotee of the Lord hastens that process.
One has to be very fortunate to get a guru like Srila Prabhupada.
Exactly. That is why then we'll always have to be indebted. And that indebtedness means that we are thinking that I am nobody. And it is all because of the mercy of the Lord. So that master and servant relationship becomes strengthened, or we become more convinced. So that is why they say become humble. Humility brings in that concept.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Is it okay, Prabhuji? I have two more doubts, Prabhuji.
I don't know. Oh, you're the host. So
Yes,
maybe.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Time is there, Prabhuji, till 11. The next session is Prabhuji, like
Our
we
time
have
is
to
only
follow that
till
Nivritti
10:30,
Marga.
Mataji. Okay. Anyway, but go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Prabhuji. Yes, Mataji. Padma Mataji, you can ask Mataji. Hare Krishna.
No, you finish. I'll ask after that. It's okay, no problem. Go ahead, Simi.
Prabhuji, like, yes, Mataji. Prabhuji, that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, we have to think of the Lord at the time of leaving this body. So it is very difficult that we have to have that focus and only towards Krishna. Like when we get these festivals like Ganesh Chaturthi and so many other festivals, like we are forced to do something, Prabhuji, like worshipping, not worshipping. In when we say that we have to pay our respects to them, so that somehow becomes a worship. So I just want to get more clarity on this, Prabhuji, like how we should be like.
In fact, very nice point that you brought out, because we just concluded Ganesh Chaturthi. So sometimes, devotees are always at a loss. How do we react? Or what should I do? Should I do? Should I not do? But if you look at our acharyas, in fact, why His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj has given this example of how Lord Ganesh and how do we look at him? I think he was talking about the GEV, GEC, I think, or GEV, okay, village. So he also speaks about Lord Ganesh and how he is the Lord Supreme Lord. And then we have to see the demigods in relation to Krishna. Then there is no aparadha, or we don't get into that side track. Like if we stop seeing in relation to Krishna, then we might stagnate. That's the example, no? Today's example of Hiranyagarbha is that only. Even though it is a Vishnu Tattva, still then when you don't see beyond Hiranyagarbha, then you will be in Hiranyagarbha only, which is not a very correct thing for us, right? So like that, now if we think of only Ganesha and then independent, then it becomes an aparad, no? Even in the 10 offenses also it says, no? Considering the names of Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So equal to or independent is not the right thing. So somebody might think of Ganapati, they say, like all gods are one only, it's okay, you worship him or him. They're all big aparads. So when we have the right understanding, then we can worship, or we will pay our respects to them. Worship is what? Worship means paying respect. What happens in the worship when we do Shodasa Upachara? You are actually respecting that individual, right? When you do Pada Puja, then you respect. When you do, so that's what we do. We offer something for the guests who has come because we respect them. They are important out of love or out of respect, either way. So worship means like it is paying our respects to them. So we are supposed to respect everybody, every living entity, because we see them as part and parcel of the Lord. So even an insect also, we see the soul in that, or we are supposed to see that, and that is how we are supposed to tune our consciousness in that way. So then where is the question of disrespecting a very elevated personalities like the demigods and all that? So we know their positions, we respect them, but we don't disrespect them. But then we don't go to them seeking for favors, because we know that whatever favor they give is also temporary, and that is not my goal. So like say you are a science student, you see a commerce teacher, you still respect them, right? But you don't go and ask a doubt there. You will just say, okay, and then you say good morning, good evening when you come face to face. Or if they ask something, then you would like to do that. You will do it wholeheartedly. You will not have this ulterior motive. Anyway, there is no use. That is wrong understanding or wrong consciousness. Oh, this teacher I can disrespect. No, that is small thinking. He is also a teacher. He is teaching something else which I am not aligned to. So that's okay. So like that. You don't go and ask a question there. Right? You ask
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Padma Mataji, you can ask me.
Prabhuji, related to this only, can I ask one more question, Prabhuji? So whenever we do Lakshmi Puja, or Lakshmi Vratam or Vinayaka Chauthi or any other puja, in the last we say Anyada Saranam Nasti Tameva Saranam Ma. Right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
So in that case, when we right now we are worshipping Supreme Lord Krishna, and when we doing Vinayaka Chauthi or some other puja, And reading this, it means that you are the ultimate and we are taking the shelter of you and there is no other one. So when we say this, we exactly don't mean it, Prabhuji, right now, at least right now.
Yeah.
So how exactly we have to do, Prabhuji?
That is what is the purification of the consciousness. So we'll have to align more and more to Krishna. So that as we get aligned more and more, we decide that we want to align. First of all, this alignment doesn't happen because in our heart of hearts, we are not decided that I want to align. That is what I said, that free will he gives. If you remember in the class, we discussed that. That free will is that we decide, yes, I want to align. And then we take that first step. Even if it is a faulty step, Krishna will purify it and then take us over. But then in the heart of heart, we are not willing only, but then we just do things in a very, as an action, externally we do. Then the mercy is also to that extent only, some small mercy. So it takes a long time. then.
Prabhuji, what I mean to say is, so we have now known that Krishna is the supreme right now.
Yeah.
So, but whenever, because in our homes, I'm just the only one who is into Krishna
Yes.
conscious, Prabhuji. So
Yes.
we'll be doing all other pujas also.
Yes.
So, but when we read those statements and we don't mean it, so it feels so bad, Prabhuji. So at that time,
No,
what
but if your intention is to get them to Krishna consciousness, then still it is okay then. You might tell something or you might act like you are doing all this so that they will have a good opinion about you as a practicing Vaishnava. Thereby, they might think that, oh, okay, Casey is not all that bad, so they become a little favorable there. So there are many layers to it, You can't just like that conclude. So that is why they say don't judge anybody. So even if somebody is doing in that way, their intention matters. So if it is with family members, generally people will go with that intention. Okay, let me just go. Sometimes, we go out with somebody, even though we don't like, we'll go. We might not eat anything in that hotel, but then we might just go with them because there's a party or somebody, some good thing, they are sharing something, somebody got married or they came first or something like that. So, but then you want to keep that relationship because there is some favorable relationship is there, then tomorrow you can preach to them or say something to them. That's your primary goal. It is not like I identify myself with this family, so I'll be connected to them. Yeah, okay. You connect with them because they are your immediate family members. But then the ultimate goal is to somehow give Krishna to them. If you can't give Krishna by way of preaching, you give them some prasadam. So you take something and then you go. So all this is there. But in our consciousness, we should be fixed up in that way that, yeah, this is what is my end goal. So sometimes, I might do certain things which might be just superficial. It's all right because ultimately that's the goal that I have. So each of us know to what extent we are true here. So it's not like we have to please somebody. To what extent I am able to convince myself, that's the journey all about. That is what Adhyatmika is all about. We know. And then sometimes we might do something. Like say, in our house, we do Ganesh Vratha, but then we do it after we came into KC, then the altar is there and then below we keep, and then first offering is going to Krishna and then the same offering then as Maha, it goes to Ganesha. So we are aligning in that way. So which is not a bad thing because earlier it was independent. Okay. So then now it is not independent. So we are aligned there. So now I'm not saying all of us will have to rethink like that. I'm just saying each one have their own way of looking at it. But ultimately it has to align to Krishna. That's all. Then we are safe. That's the whole point. And that is what every Acharya is saying. And that's what that small video of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj also said, meant the same thing. So whichever lecture you listen, it all comes to that. But that doesn't mean that you have a blanket approval. Okay, so now from now I can go and worship all the demigods. No, it's not like that. I hope we are able to make this distinction very clear because somebody might conclude like that, So I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mataji, Padma Mataji, you can ask Mataji. Very sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have two very short questions. Now, during this Ganpati, the festival, when it was approaching, these people came to because they are staying in a society. They went from door to door and asking for chanda, for donation. And so we had to give, whether we like it or not. We can't say no, we can't give. We gave an amount. So after that, we are supposed to go down for the puja and all that. But then there are so many things happen. They put all these filmy songs and all that, after the puja, then they dance and all that. So is it okay? We have given the donation for that. Is it okay? Because we are in Krishna consciousness.
Mataji, generally it is good to avoid because you know what it is going to be used for. So there is this dhan also or donation in the mode of goodness, in the mode of
No, we didn't go. We didn't
Yeah.
attend, Prabhuji, we didn't attend. But the donation, we have to give something or another.
Correct. So in what way we are giving it, that is what is going to this thing. But then maybe your earning is already purified because you are giving something to Krishna. And then from there, then something you gave here. So maybe it is all right. But I would suggest that you consult somebody more senior in this because I'm not very clear on this. But personally, for me, I would try to avoid and then not give. But even if I'm giving, then I will know that it is not right. So maybe there has to be something. So maybe give another equal amount this side and then give something there. So somewhere some line we draw. But what is the correct thing? It is better to check with somebody. So I'll also need some inputs there.
Yes, okay, Prabhuji.
I cannot conclude directly whether it is good or not good. I cannot tell you emphatically give or say emphatically don't give.
But if we say for pleasure of Krishna and then give, because
that's what, see, our mind also tricks us here. What happens by reasoning, our mind also tricks us, and then we'll say anyway, Krishna, and then we try to. So that's why it's not a good territory. So we have to be
because Prabhuji, because this is an annual thing, every year they come and ask.
Yes.
So I told him, I said, we go for we give it to the Krishna temple. So we cannot say kuch so de do na, sab log de rahe, dena hi hai. So we are part of the society. So if we say no, they boycott us. They say, something wrong with them, why they are not giving conjuice. They don't understand our sentiments.
True. I mean, this is our journey. We do, we are damned. We don't do, we are damned. So it is always there. So we'll have to pray to Krishna so that, so certain things he takes care, and then we just try to do what we have to do.
I'll check with my Guru Maharaj, Prabhuji? I'll check with my Guru Maharaj.
Yes, Mataji. So that's, or any other senior Vaishnava, they might definitely be able to.
Okay, Prabhuji. Now my second question is, now when we're speaking about the deviation of the soul, like those who don't come to Krishna consciousness, they go like what you said, going to Kanyakumari instead of coming, taking the train. If your destination is somewhere, you take the connecting train to Kanyakumari. So actually, this happens due to our past karma, or is it that because some come directly to Krishna consciousness, some deviate, they take a long time. Is it due to the past karma?
Yeah, this is all because of karma. Because of based on the karma only, we are in a certain mode of material nature, that is sattva, rajo, tamo, and we react in a certain way. We are actually not acting, we're reacting. And those reactions, then we get more reactions for the reactions that we did. So in a big way, karma is influencing our journey. But that is in the sadhana siddhi level. So we always think that I have to then do. But then we also have kripa siddhi because we understand the power of mercy of a Vaishnava. So then this doesn't come at all. Like that same example of Narada's kripa was so much that that insect became a human being within 2-3 months. So the kripa siddhi, it did not do any sadhana. No? So kripa siddhi is also there. So that's another angle that we should not ignore completely. Generally, we tend to keep sadhana siddhi only in our mind and then try to do that. But then little sadhana, but our philosophy is little sadhana, but then lot of kripa. It's like that monkey philosophy and cat philosophy, how our effort, the baby monkey, their effort to hold, whereas the cat, it is completely surrendered. Both are not correct. It is our philosophy is rope in a well, where the kripa is there by way of rope, but you have to hold on to it. So your sadhana is also there, and then you get pulled out. So these are wonderful analogies. I just explained in a very brief way, but these analogies will help us to position ourselves correctly. So we'll need both. So we'll have to, so karma is also there, but then karma can be overridden with kripa. So then kripa siddhi, that means like surrendering to somebody or listening to a pure Vaishnava, associating with a pure Vaishnava.
Yes.
That is there.
Yes, okay, thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful explanation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, that Yad Karoshi Yadashnasi shloka is there, no, Prabhuji, like Yad Juhosi Dadasiyat. Whatever you do it as an offering to me.
Yes.
Can we apply that, Prabhuji, when we are forced to give something?
We can do that, but are we doing only when we do that we are doing, or for everything we have to do like that? We will be selective in doing that. That is our problem. What you say is correct, but we become selective. Anyway, that shloka is there, so now I'll give. So we take that as an excuse. The shloka should not be an excuse to do something. It should be like completely 100%. Everything we do like that, then it is okay. So this is what I said. The mind will trick us. So.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Shall we end the session? Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo Ananta Koti Vaishnavyam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam. All glories to you. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And then I'm also my forgiveness in case if I have hurt somebody's sentiments by way of my replies. The intention is not that. The intention is to highlight about Krishna or the supremacy of Krishna and the way we need to align ourselves. That's all.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. All glories to you.
Hare Krishna.